Your calendar is packed, back-to-back meetings, client calls, team check-ins, quick things, vendor updates. You get to the end of the day, you're exhausted, and then you realize you didn't actually do anything important today. Nothing moved forward, there was no strategy work, no big decisions, project really advanced, you were just busy all day basically. Responding, reacting, being available, but the stuff that actually grows your business, you didn't even touch it. Here's what's happening. You're confusing activity with progress, and your calendar is set up to keep you busy, not to make you effective. And in this video, I'm going to show you why being busy doesn't mean being productive, how to tell the difference between reactive work and strategic work, and how to protect time for what actually matters. Let's get into it. Most founders think that if they're busy, they're being productive. Like they think if the calendar is full, I must be working hard. If you're in meetings all day, you must be moving things forward, right? But here's the reality. Being busy is not the same as being effective. You can work 12 hours and accomplish nothing that matters. Or you can have 8 meetings and make zero progress on what grows the business. Because most of what fills your calendar isn't strategic work, it's reactive work. Someone needs an answer, so you hop on a Zoom call. Or a client has a question, so you schedule a call. Or your team wants to sync up, so you add it to the calendar, right? Or a vendor wants to check in, okay, so you make space. And before you know it, your entire week is filled with other people's agendas, not yours. Now, you're responding to what's urgent, but urgent doesn't mean that it's important. And that's the trap. Your calendar fills up with urgent things that feel productive, but by the end of the week, the important stuff didn't really happen. The strategic project that you wanted to start, still on the list, right? Or the systems that you needed to build, you didn't touch it. Or the content you wanted to create, no time. Because why? Your calendar was full of meetings that felt necessary in the moment, but didn't actually move anything forward. Now let me break down the difference between these. So now let me break down the difference between reactive and strategic work. Reactive work is responding to what's happening right now in the moment. Answering questions, solving problems, putting out fires, approving things, giving feedback. You're making small decisions. It feels productive because you're checking things off, you're helping people, you're being responsive. But reactive work doesn't build anything. It maintains what already exists. Strategic work, on the other hand, is completely different. Strategic work builds the future. It's creating new systems, developing new products, building new partnership, hiring key people, making big decisions about your company's direction, working on marketing that compounds. Strategic work is what actually grows your business. But here's the problem. Strategic work is never urgent, right? Nobody's messaging you and saying, hey, we need that new system done today. Nobody's calling you saying, we need to finalize that partnership right now. Strategic work doesn't have deadlines that other people set, so it gets pushed further and further behind because your calendar fills up with reactive work that feels urgent, and strategic work, in the meantime, sits on your someday list forever, basically. So how does this happen? How does your calendar get hijacked like this? Well, it ends up full of reactive work with no space for strategic work for 3 main reasons. Reason number 1 is you are too available. Your calendar is open, people can see slots and they book them. Or your team knows that you'll make time if they ask. Your clients know that you'll hop on a call. So your availability basically becomes your calendar. And other people will fill it with their priorities and not yours, obviously, right? Second reason is that you haven't defined what is important. If you don't know what strategic work you should be protecting time for, then everything will feel equally important in your business. A team sync will feel just as necessary as working on a new offer, or a vendor call will feel just as important as systemizing one part of your business, right? Without clarity on what matters most, you will default to whatever just shows up in the moment. The third reason is that meetings feel like work. You're talking about the business, you're involved, you're busy, you're engaged, it feels productive, but talking about work isn't the same as doing work, right? You can have 3 meetings about a project and make zero progress towards actually completing the project. Meetings just create an illusion of productivity, but they're often just discussion with no execution, and that's a real problem. So, let me show you what this actually costs you. When your calendar is full of reactive work, here's what's going to happen. Number 1, your business will stop growing because growth only comes from strategic work. It doesn't come from reactive work. new products, new systems, new marketing or better marketing, new partnerships, and so on, right? If you're not spending time on those things, you're just maintaining what you have. And here's another question. If you're not spending time on the strategic work in your business and you're the founder, then who is actually doing that part of the work inside your business? And the answer is nobody, right? You're abdicating unconsciously, most likely, but you're abdicating your responsibility as the CEO. You might be busy, but you're not really building. Second thing that will happen is like you will get frustrated because you're working hard, you're putting in the hours, but nothing's really changing, or it's moving very, very slowly, right? Revenue might stay flat or, grow slowly, or you might hit a wall. Your problems keep repeating and you feel stuck because why? You're spending all your time in reactive mode with no time to actually fix anything or build anything new. The third thing that will happen is your team learns that they can interrupt you anytime. If you're always available, if you're always ready to jump on a meeting or a Zoom call, if you're always responsive, then they will learn that your time is basically their time. And they won't think twice about booking you or interrupting you, right? They won't try to solve things on their own. They'll just grab a time on your calendar or they'll ping you in Slack. And basically you're training them to depend on your availability instead of your leadership. So let's talk about how to protect time for what matters. So how can you actually fix this problem, right? Well, here are the 3 steps that you can take. Step 1 is define what's actually important. Not what feels urgent, but what actually moves your business forward. For most founders, strategic work will fall into a few different categories. Building new systems that remove you from operations. That's a big one, right? Creating new offers or products. Developing marketing. Making big decisions about what's the direction of the company. Hiring and developing key people that will help you drive the business forward. You need to write down what strategic work you need to be doing. Not someday, but right now, this month, right? Or at least this quarter. Now, what are the 3 to 5 big things that if you made progress on them would actually change your business? And that's your list. Step 2 is block time for strategic work first, not after everything else is done, but first it gets priority. Before you schedule any meetings, before you open up your calendar to anything else, block your strategic time. Most founders, they need at least 10 to 15 hours a week of uninterrupted time for strategic work. And the more you can get, the better it is for you, for your business, and ultimately for your team because they depend on your business being successful. Now, 10 to 15 hours, it might sound like a lot. It really actually is not a lot. You should aim more for like 20 to 40 hours. But let's say if you're working 40 to 50 hours a week and only 5 of those hours are spent on strategic work, then your business is just not going to grow. So you need to block out the time. Morning blocks work best for most people because your brain is fresh and nobody's had a chance to interrupt you yet, right? So you want to block out at least 3 hours in the mornings for your strategic work. You can't do deep strategic work in 30-minute gaps between meetings. It just doesn't work. You need a longer time to sit and really focus on the thing that you're working on. And then step number 3 is you need to defend that time like it's sacred, because honestly, it is. When someone tries to schedule a meeting during your strategic time, you say no. You don't say maybe or let me see or, you drop the ball. No, you say no. That time is blocked for the work that actually builds your business. You need to protect it. Everything else can work around it. And here's what's going to happen. People will push back, right? They'll try to interrupt you anyway. Your team will say they need to sync. Your clients will want calls during that time. Your vendors will suggest those slots. And you're going to feel pressure to say yes. You're going to start feeling bad about saying no, right? Don't cave in. Your strategic time is more valuable than any individual meeting because that's the time you're building the future instead of just managing the present. Now, here's what changes when you actually do this. First of all, you will start making real progress because let's say the system that you've been talking about for 6 months, you will actually finally build it. The new offer that you were planning or the new product, you'll finally launch it. You'll be faster with marketing projects because why? You're not waiting for free time to magically appear on your calendar, right? You block the time, you take it, and you do the work. Second thing is you'll be way less stressed because you're not constantly reacting to things. You're not always behind. You're actually working on the things that prevent the problems instead of just solving them. You're building leverage instead of fighting fires, and that feels completely different on a day-to-day basis. And the last thing that will happen is your team will get better because if you're not always available, they'll need to learn to solve things on their own. They will learn how to make decisions. They will learn to handle problems without you, and that's exactly what you want. And your unavailability will force them to step up. Now, let me be clear about one thing. I'm not saying, don't have any meetings. Some meetings can actually be valuable depending on your business and your current setup and so on. I'm saying most meetings are not valuable at all. Here's how you can tell the difference. Keep the meetings that involve making decisions together. If you need input from multiple people to make a choice, then meeting makes sense. So keep the meetings that involve real collaboration. Let's say you're actually working on something together in real time, then meeting might make sense, right? Also, you can keep the meetings that involve teaching or coaching, because if you're developing someone or transferring knowledge, that makes sense. But kill the meetings that are just status updates, because that can be a message that can wait. Kill the meetings that are just discussions with no decisions. So if there's no outcome or, an actionable direction at the end of the meeting, then what's the point? There's no need to just discuss things. If nothing gets decided, it shouldn't be a meeting. Kill the meetings that are recurring but have no agenda. If you don't know why you're meeting, you shouldn't be meeting. Don't just meet for meeting's sake because it's on the calendar. Most founders could cut half their meetings and nothing would break. You wouldn't even notice it, other than you have a lot more free time. So try it. And then if you really need a meeting and you cut it out and you realize actually it's a problem, we do need to have it, you can always bring it back, right? So look at your calendar for the next week, pick half the meetings and just cancel them and see what happens. And I bet you most of them didn't matter. Now, let me end with this. Your calendar doesn't lie, right? It shows you what you actually value. If your calendar is full of reactive meetings and no time for strategic work, then that's what your business is getting from you. It's getting maintenance. It's not getting growth. Reaction, but not building. You can be busy all day and you still don't accomplish anything that really, really matters and moves the needle, right? Or you can protect time for what actually moves your business forward. You can block your strategic time first, you defend it, and watch what happens when you finally have space to work on what's important instead of what's urgent. And that's how busy founders can become effective founders. That's how you stop feeling stuck. And that's how you actually build something instead of just managing the fires that happen every day in every business.